Dwayne Wade's son, Zion, is now identifying himself as a female and, want to be addressed as Zaya. Instead of being a he say I would prefer to be called a her. Instead of being or instead of being a he, I prefer to be called a she. Instead of be calling a him, I'd rather be called a her. What do you think about we're such in a gender blended, a gender diverse culture nowadays? Like, how do you speak to the youth that's like really dealing with this sexual identity in today?
To be honest, man, I just speak straight words. It's natural by nature for the man to be with the female. Everything is grown in pairs, and God created us in a way for us to reproduce ourselves, like everything else reproduces itself. So if it's not reproducing, then I don't think it's natural. Or if it's not capable of reproducing, because I know some women can't necessarily get pregnant, but if it's not capable of reproducing something naturally, I don't think that's the way. And I think it's not all the way that people are born this way, I think, because Dr. Wesley has a book called The Assault and Attack on the Black Man. And there are certain medicines like Depo-Provera that sisters are taking. There are certain foods like soy. There are certain drugs like weed that has THC, high THC levels that masculinizes the woman and feminizes the man. Doesn't necessarily mean after you hit a blunt, you're going to be flaming gay. That's not what that means. But it does tamper with our testosterone. So when a mother has a child in her stomach and she's eating certain foods, these foods are going into the child. Certain thoughts is going into the child. That's why in the Nation of Islam, we are advising our women not to go out and watch bloody movies and murderous movies and have bad thoughts, because these thoughts is going to trigger down into the child. So I think the children come out feeling this way because the estrogen and the testosterone is thrown off, not by God, but by a scientist who understands the body and throwing it off for us. And then we have a world that makes evil first seeming, as I said, so they come out confused. So if you have somebody who thinks a certain way as a child, if your child comes out a murderer or comes out slapping people, you're going to correct that. Nobody says, well, that's just how he is. That little brother, he just out there murdering me. That's just how he got to be. No, you will correct that, because by nature, that's not the right thing to do. By nature, that's not the way that we're supposed to be. But as a father and as a mother, when you become, I would say docile, when you allow some of these things to happen and you don't check it, as a 12-year-old child, as a 10-year-old child, I probably want to be a whole bunch of things. And it probably was a whole bunch of wrong things. And once I got corrected, I changed my mind and I got back on the right path. So I don't think just because somebody comes out gender is so-called confused that we should just let them be something that's in contrary to our way of life as Muslims, as Christians, as people who are of God, because there are a lot of people who are supposed to be of God who agree with this. And the scripture says in Ezekiel, if you don't warn them, that if they continue to do, that they will surely die if they continue to go contrary. Basically, I'm paraphrasing to my way. Then when they die or when they suffer chastisement, that blood is going to be on your hands. And we know about Sodom and Gomorrah. We know about these things that's happening. We know that this is an abomination. It doesn't necessarily mean that we throw away the child, that D. Wade can't love his child. We love all of our people, all black people. But we have to realize that we don't have to agree with the lifestyle that they have. So if my brother's out there robbing and killing, I don't have to agree with that just to love him. Same thing with the child. I can love him. He can love him. That can be your brother. But agreeing with that lifestyle and supporting that lifestyle, I don't think that's something that I would do, or that anybody who are following that law, if you're under God, I don't think that's what we should be doing.